The Ravens are heading down to Tennessee for wildcard weekend. Let's break this game down. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it. So here we got an 11-5 Baltimore Ravens and an 11-5 Tennessee Titans facing off. This is going to be a great game. This game, just looking at it from paper, looking at it based on last year, on this year, and the game played earlier during week 11, I think that this game is going to be tremendous. It is one of the ones that I'm definitely looking forward to. So the Ravens and the Titans both faced off in week 11. And the Titans pulled the W out in overtime. Final score was 30-24. The game was a really good one. It was exciting. It was thrilling. And you go back and you rewatch it. Man, these two teams, the fact that they're playing first round for the playoffs this year is just incredible. You take a step back, you look, Tennessee really showed up and punched Baltimore in the mouth last year in the playoffs. A year when most people were speculating, hey, it's going to be a Balti, Kansas City AFC Championship game, and Balti's probably going to the Super Bowl. They were the team that everybody looked at and said, this is Super Bowl caliber. They're going, hey, they could win it. And for Tennessee to just come in and punch them in the mouth was really kind of mind-blowing. It shocked me. I didn't expect it. Expected Balti to win the game. And so you look at how that had an effect on this year's Week 11 game. Right? Tennessee shows up to Baltimore. Their players run out to the center of the field. They stand on the logo before the game. Harbaugh goes out. He exchanges words with Vrabel. There's a lot of bad blood. And if I had access to the rights to Taylor Swift's music, I would drop it in here for maximum pun value. Number 2, Baltimore is in stride. They're hot right now. Like, you look at their last 5 games, you look at what Baltimore is doing, the way they're working, they are coming together and gelling. Compared to their first 7 games where you saw a little bit of a sway, they are hot right now. They look like, and they remind me of last year's team more now than they did in the beginning of the season. Listen, when a team gets hot, man, devastation ensues. Don't believe me? Just ask the men of Lake Town when their friendly neighborhood dragon Smaug rolled into town and just burnt them all to a crisp. Balti's won the last 5 games in the end of the season stretch. They averaged at about 37 points a game. Baltimore's hot. They're looking good. They're reminding me of last year's end of season play. Listen, when a team gets hot, it's tough to stop it. And on the flip side, when you look at that last 5-game stretch for Tennessee's letting up about 30 points a game. So here you've got 30 points, you've got 37 points a game. I think it's going to be a higher scoring playoff game. Now, there's a lot of interesting statistics going into this game when you look at it. Tennessee's pass defense is ranked 29th in the NFL from the actual season play. 29th. But in the same light, you look at Baltimore's passing offense, dead last. Dead last in the NFL. They don't average over about 180 yards a game when it comes to the passing offense. That's not where they excel. Where both of these teams excel is the run game. I mean, you look at it, Baltimore's ranked number 1, Tennessee is ranked number 2, both in the running game. These are rushing-centric teams. And before we get to those, when you look at the passing side, I mean, Ryan Tannehill, man, that guy surprised me. I thought last year watching him play, he'd be more of a one-year wonder, Case Keenum type of guy who shows up, then gets the big contract and just plateaus, drops off the edge. But instead, he really, he surprised me. Well done, Tannehill. He showed up. He's had a good year. You look at his stats. In the 2020 season, Tannehill's sitting at a 65% completion percentage. He's thrown for 3,819 yards, 33 TDs, and 7 interceptions. Now, when you look at it, break it down even further, and you look at Week 11 against Baltimore. He went 22 for 31. He had a 71% completion percentage. He threw for 259 yards with 2 TDs and 1 interception. You know what? Against Baltimore, he didn't reach that 300-yard mark to really excel and put it forward. But neither of these teams are really passing-centric teams. And then there's Lamar. Lamar's completion percentage is sitting at about a 62%. He's thrown for 2,757 yards, 26 TDs, and 9 interceptions. I mean, that's over 1,000 yards less than Tannehill. When you look at him strictly against Tennessee earlier this year, he went 17 for 29. He threw for a 58% completion percentage. He only hit 186 yards total with 1 TD and 1 interception. So all in all, not a good game. When you look at it and you look at Lamar Jackson, he's not a passing forward quarterback. That's not where he excels. Where does he excel? It's with the dual threat of his feet. That guy can run. He can move. His mobility is what really keeps defenses honest throughout the game. With that threat in place, you look at somebody like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, what does he do? The guy can chuck the ball. I know, as a Lions fan, I have to see it 2 times a year. It's brutal. But when you look at somebody like Lamar, how does he do what he does? Man, he's so good because he can throw the ball, but it's really his feet that keep the defense honest. I mean, look at Jackson's stats. He's rushed for an average of about 62 yards a game. Man, if you know that the opposing quarterback can move like that, and when he starts and he glides down the field, shoot, man, that's like trying to catch flubber. He keeps the threat real. So sure, Baltimore's passing offense is ranked last in the NFL, but when you have somebody who can move like Lamar can, that is going to be a key element of your offense. And I mean, in the same way, listen, both these teams are fun to watch, and they are going to be so fun to watch as they face off in this playoff game. I mean, Balti's defense is just dirty. That is a good defense, and they've suffered a lot of injuries this year, and they got some guys coming back for this wild card weekend. And so really, Baltimore's defense is good, and I think they're going to keep Tannehill honest. But the real question that we all got to ask is, what are they going to do with Derrick Henry? I mean, between the run games of both Baltimore and Tennessee, that's where the focus is going to be. Derrick Henry, week 11 versus Baltimore, he had 28 attempts. He ran for 133 yards. He was averaging at about 4.8 yards a carry. Like, that's tough to handle. That's tough to work with as a defense. Now, I know it's the playoffs and schemes change. Offenses have to come at it differently. Defenses have to come at it differently. But you have the number 1 and the number 2 rushing offenses in the NFL battling. That's going to be a tough thing to handle for both defenses. The Lions had the opportunity to play against Tennessee a couple weeks back, and watching Derrick Henry, he looked like when Pac-Man eats one of those like huge chips in the corner, right? And then he's allowed to eat the ghosts. That's what he did to our defense. He just swallowed them whole. It's very frustrating. Baltimore's rushing stats, look at them. They have the most rushing attempts in the NFL at 555. They've run for 3,071 yards. They're averaging at 5.5 yards a carry and averaging at about 191 yards a game. And then number 2, Tennessee. Look at Tennessee and their attempts. They've attempted to run the ball 521 times. They put up 2,690 yards. They're averaging at about 5.2 yards a carry. And they're putting up on average about 168 yards a game. These are rushing forward teams. And this game's going to be good. And I'm very interested in seeing what both offenses do when it comes to passing the ball. Because the whole nation knows, hey, these guys can run. Both teams can run. So what are you going to do when it comes to throwing the ball? So do me a favor, drop your thoughts in the comments. Who's going to win this game? Drop a score prediction in there. And I look forward to covering more postseason games as the season continues to play out. In the end, I don't have a stake in this game because the boys in Honolulu Blue have been dead for quite some time. But hey, it'll be a good one to watch. And I'll catch you next time on Let's Talk Lions.